call the meeting to order. Everybody stand up for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, the first thing on the agenda is a public hearing, a discussion and consideration and possible voting on second reading of an ordinance to adopt a new Chapter 16 of the Town of Ocean View Code to establish a tax rate stabilization trust fund. Obviously, there's nobody from the public here in the audience.
Some comments I can make. Can I make some comments?
Sure, you can make comments and we can discuss it individually if you like.
Okay. Normally I wouldn't make any kind of a recommendation for this type of a thing, but I think it's important enough that that I do. You all have a copy of the ordinance. This information was shared for you in advance, and it's basically the final recommendation for this to move forward. So background-wise, property taxes are the primary revenue stream for the town of Ocean View. They support the services and, of course, the activities delivered to the town property owners. Town services are very highly valued by our community. As such, tax increases are inevitable absent new revenue streams, which, as you know, we have tried but not been able to identify any additional revenue streams. We don't have access to some of the more common local government revenue streams, such as parking, utility margins, and our annexation opportunities are limited. Finding a way to create a smoothing effect and avoiding large tax rate increases is the primary goal. Sale of the town's fully outsourced water utility was identified as beneficial from the standpoint of reduction of risk without having any oversight. The sale paid off all of our water debt, that's the only debt we had, eliminated risk and resulted in our maintaining $1.4 million. Rather than spend these one-time funds recklessly, we recommended that they be used to benefit all property owners in a manner that could be sustained, and that led us to the creation of the tax rate stabilization fund, which you're being asked to vote on today. Ocean View is no stranger to establishing trust funds, and the ones that you have established in the past have served us very well. As you well know, our current trust funds are primarily funded by transfer tax revenue, and as such, we don't rely on these funds for operations. The creation of this new tax rate stabilization trust fund with one-time funds from the sale of the water utility, ensuring it has guardrails for use and a way to pay itself back, is unique. Having the opportunity to consider providing up to 1 cent credit to all property owners when a tax rate increase is necessary is unique. Providing relief, if necessary, during our annual budget process and the ability to smooth the impact a bit for our property owners is unique. The investment of the funds provided the opportunity for the required payback during full town reassessment, to be reduced further, smoothing impact on our property owners. It's therefore recommended that Mayor and Council support the adoption of a new chapter of our code to establish the Tax Rate Stabilization Trust Fund with $1.4 million of seed funding and in accordance with the attached draft ordinance. Doing so will establish a unique opportunity to support operations while also considering the impact of tax rate increases on our property owners.
Thank you very much. Does anyone on council have any questions or anything to add to that?
No.
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 All right, based on that, do I hear a motion to approve?
Mr. Mayor, I move to approve the second reading of the ordinance to adopt new Chapter 16 of the Town Ocean View Code to establish tax rate stabilization trust fund.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Passes.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Okay, can I have a motion to adopt the agenda?
I'd like to make a motion, we adopt the agenda from the regular minutes for April 14th, 2026.
Okay, can I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, can I have a motion to approve the minutes of the regular minutes from April 14, 2026?
I move to approve the regular minute meetings from April 14, 2026.
Okay, can I have a second, please?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, can I have motion to approve the minutes from the reorganization minutes from April 28, 2026? Can I have a motion?
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve the reorganization minutes of April 28th, 2026.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Okay, now we're going to communications and presentations. I don't believe there are any communications. Presentations will start. Financial presentation with Ms. Parks.
Thank you. Before you, you have the monthly financial update as of April 30th, 2026. As of the end of April, we collected 99.65% of our FY26 taxes. We have processed the fiscal year 27 taxes. They're available online. We're printing them actually today, and they should be postmarked by the 1st of June and mailed out to the citizens. They have till July 31st to pay with a 1% discount until August 31st to pay prior to penalties being assessed. Onto our balances of the reserve and committed funds. Our emergency reserve trust fund has a balance of $1,276,895. Our capital replacement trust fund has a balance of $1,830,101. The street repair replacement trust has a balance of $1,986,382. Our emergency services enhancement fund has a balance of $1,437,554, and this amount is with interest, and that would be why it does not match the amount at the bottom of the accumulation and use tab on there. That's what we've actually collected and what we've given out, but does not include the restricted interest on that. Transfer taxes collected through the end of March are 50% from new construction home sales, 8% from land sales, and 42% from resales of existing homes. We have just received our April numbers, so I'll have that for you at the next meeting. But as of the end of what we have so far, we are almost $800,000 ahead of what our year-to-date budget was for FY26. Financial statements are on pages 3 and 4, followed by the analytics on page 5 and 6. You can see that we are ending the year at 99% of our budget. Now we do have payables, and our revenues will go until the end of June before we actually close the books, and we've scheduled our annual audit for the week of July 20th. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
Council, any questions for Ms. Parks?
No.
No.
Yeah.
Don, thank you very much. Next up, public safety with Chief McLaughlin.
Yes, Mr. Mayor. We've got a copy of the report for last month in front of you. Actually, it contains all the data year-to-date for the police department. I'll be happy to answer any questions that you might have in regards to any of the data. A couple of quick notes of interest. The police department's continuing to transition from our Motorola body-worn and in-car camera systems to the new Axon platform. We hope to have that transition completed in June. Our school resource officer, in partnership with the Department of Transportation, hosted a bike rodeo safety program for students at Lord Baltimore Elementary School. Police Department assisted the Chamber of Commerce again this year with CPR and AED training to members of the Chamber, and we also assisted with the Chamber's annual Ocean Bay fight for Other than that, we're in the process of getting ready for summer season. As you all know, it's starting to pick up on the weekends. Last weekend, at least one day, we had a beautiful day. A lot going on in the community. We've got a lot of weekend events starting up down here at the local beaches, and we're looking forward to another good summer. So that's it.
Council, any questions of the chief?
No.
Okay, thank you, chief. Next up, planning and zoning development, Mr. Semino.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Did a little bit of maintenance work over the past month. The FY 2026 street paving project, that was completed. Paving operations took place in the Kelly Estates and Edenshire communities. Those would be Hudson Avenue, Tinkle Street, and Longview Drive. Project came in on time and $1,000 under budget. Spring street sweeping activities were completed during the week of April the 20th. Concrete sidewalk and gutter repairs in Avon Park commenced yesterday. What was scheduled to be completed prior to the Memorial Day weekend. We have seasonal tree trimming scheduled for Savannah's Landing, Woodland Park, and the intersection of Woodland Avenue and Central Avenue from June the 15th and June the 18th. This proactive tree trimming reduces our risk of losing trees during severe weather events, while many communities are just now completing their cleanup from the February storm or still trying to get tree vendors. We cleaned ours up immediately after the storm within 5 days. Let me see what else we got here. Oh, sidewalk repairs, they're scheduled right out here for Oakwood Avenue and West Avenue here in June. The sidewalk is being damaged by most likely the trash trucks turning the corner. You just can't navigate the turn. And then here on West Avenue, we can't seem to keep the grass strip behind the parking spaces along West Avenue. So what we're going to do is we're going to use a porous paver application where concrete, 4,500 PSA concrete is poured in grids, and then the voids in those grids are filled with topsoil and then seeded with grass. We're thinking that probably, since it has the concrete that's traffic bearing, the grass will be able to rebound instead of rutting up and us continually fixing it. So hopefully that'll work out. We'll see how that works out. Land use and development. Shore Vista Residential Community. Construction has commenced on the first 2 groups of townhomes in this development, so that's good news. They should be going after it pretty heavy here through the summer. Silverwoods is still going. They're moving along. Construction of dwelling units in Phase 2A2 and Phase 2B is nearing completion. Construction of dwelling units in Phase 2C and 2D is commenced. My estimate is that that project will be built out and looking to close out by this time next year. Nastazos Holdings LLC, that is the developer who is looking to bring the Dunkin' Donuts to 95, 97, and 101 Atlantic Avenue. Appeared before the Board of Adjustment on Thursday, April the 16th, 2026, to request a special exception in accordance with Article 18, Section 140-128 of the Town Code, to establish a fast food restaurant with a drive-thru at the location. The special exception passed by a majority vote of 4-1. At that same meeting, Nastazos Holdings LLC also appeared before the Board of Adjustment seeking 2 variances. The first variance was from Article 5, Section 140-31, to develop the property with proposed lot coverage of 61%, which exceeds the maximum allowable lot coverage of 50%. The current existing lot coverage of that property is 63.9%, So that would actually be a reduction in lot coverage under the new development. And they also are seeking a variance from Article 11, Section 140-73B, 3, subsection B, in order to reduce the width of the required screening along the frontage of the Atlantic Avenue from 15 feet to approximately 6 feet. Both of those variances passed by unanimous vote 5-1. However, the developer did not get in writing from the Delaware Department of Transportation that they would be allowed to plant a buffer in the 15-foot permanent easement that DelDOT has along the frontage. So they will be back in front of the Board of Adjustment seeking a further variance. Capital improvement projects. OBPZ&D 2606, the Oakwood parking lot expansion commenced yesterday. They're out there working currently. This project is expected to take about 45 calendar days to complete, and it will add 31 parking spaces to our inventory. Advertisements for bids for OBPZ&D 2609. Woodland Park Drainage. This was a project that was near and dear to former Councilman Cobb. This project was advertised in 2 print publications and on the town's website on May the 1st. The project will make drainage improvements along Holiday Lane, Maple Lane, and Maple Way in the Woodland Park community. And to date, we've received 6 expressions of interest from different contractors who have picked up the plan package. We had, this not on here today, on this paper, is we had a pre-bid meeting this morning for OBPZ&D 2608, which you all know as Burzins Nature Trail. We had good participation. 8 firms attended. Those 8 firms, 15 firms initially picked up packages, plans, and specs for the project. This was a mandatory pre-bid meeting, so if you did come to the pre-bid meeting, you're not able to do the project. So these 8 firms will be able to submit bids for the project. Bids will be received on June the 9th in the town manager's office.
My birthday.
Lucky day.
It's really good.
That's a great number of people showing up, and the other ones that picked up were likely subs.
So you said 15 people were there, but only 8?
15 people picked up, inquired, and picked up bid packages,
Okay.
but only 8 attended the mandatory pre-bid meeting. So only 8 of those 8 will be able to bid this project.
Typically, subs that think they can work on the job will also pick up the plans. So the others past
see
the
what you-
8 may very well be.
Yeah, they may
So-
have already
contract.
aligned themselves with a PC. I think that's pretty much for capital improvements. An update, something else that's not on here is our next phase of sidewalks, which will bring us connectivity from Woodland Avenue here to John West Park via Oakland, Central, and Oakwood. That project is 90%, the design is 90% completed. This project is receiving a TAP grant for construction funding, and we will be meeting with our colleagues at DelDOT to discuss the grant, next steps, and I guess I'll be out hunting easements for the sidewalks here in the next couple of months. Code enforcement, permits, COs, rental, business license, all there for your review. If you folks have any questions, comments, I'd be happy to answer them.
On the Dunkin' Donuts proposal, was there any type of sound barrier between where the cars are stacked and the homes behind them, the
There
cottage?
is a fence, 8 foot tall,
Okay,
and a 20-foot wide planted tree line.
great, okay.
And you have a stacking lane, which I believe will accommodate 18 to 20 cars. And there's also a bypass lane, so it's not going to jam up the whole parking lot. There's also a bypass lane around the whole.
So when you say stack 18 cars before it gets out into traffic, is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Okay.
Which was a priority to us.
It literally stacks from the eastern side of the building where the pickup is
Mhm.
for your order, around the back,
18
to the
cars.
point in the front.
Anyone else have questions for Mr. Semino? Thank you, sir. Next up
One other
is...
thing,
Huh?
one other thing, I'm sorry.
Okay, go ahead.
Municipal Street Aid and Church Street. We are moving forward with taking a reduction from the Delaware Department of Transportation of pretty much a tenth of a mile, it's 0.09 miles. Will be reduced from our MSA funds for church money.
That's the, we get there's $6 million out there for grabs in the state. Every town that owns roads has to submit your mileage every year, and then you get whatever the percentage it ends up being. It ends up being, I think it's been 170-ish.
Yeah, it's a little less than 130.
130. So that's what we've been hovering at, and of course, everybody across the state is adding streets and things, so, but the 6 million has stayed the same for well over 15 years, so that'll keep going down until they add more. But Church Road, we were getting it unbeknownst to us, because it isn't a town road, so we're giving it back for that .09 miles. Just
Overall,
to-
we will have a slight increase in mileage with the addition of Stingray Harbor.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That's it, no more.
Thank you. Next up is our town manager, Ms. Halpern.
Yes, going to skip over a couple things that we'll be taking care of in a little bit today. Event schedule for the rest of the year from summer to late fall is attached for your reference. Charter change update. Our charter change is submitted to the state legislature. Just saw it on some committee meetings, so I'm hopeful that we will get it changed. Of course, it's really a cleanup of our code, our charter rather, so that all candidates, whether you're the mayoral candidate or a councilman candidate, would all have to have their intention to run in by 45 days versus having 2 different days, versus council members only being 30. What we realized this past election was that we were sitting basically twiddling our thumbs, waiting till that we got to 30 days before, and we couldn't set any meetings up for the candidates night or anything because we had to check it with whoever was the successful people. So anyway, long story short, it's a cleanup. Makes sense. Hopefully it'll be approved. If not, we still have time for next year. Ken mentioned the Church Road, so I'm not going to go over that. We've been busy with all the paperwork with our switch to Delaware Valley Health Trust from the state's insurance plan. It's gone very well so far. Insurance renewals, a lot of paperwork with that is an annual thing we've been dealing with. Newsletter is complete and will be mailed out with all to all property owners with their tax bills by the beginning of June. Ken mentioned Verson's Trail, the bid's out, so we're looking forward to that. Very excited. We also hope that construction will begin by this fall. I wanted to provide you, I've been sharing information about the legislative session. It's been very busy. It has a lot of items that are coming up, a lot of bills that are coming up that are focusing on taking more local control away. So the League of Local Governments and SCAT and other organizations, Chiefs Association, are all trying to get changes or to get the bills defeated. At this point in time, all the bills that I have provided you some summary on are still going to be opposed by the League, and I hope that will continue to be the case. I have additional information that I'll be sending out on several of these to our local legislators, Senator Hocker and Representative Gray, to see if they can help support the opposition. Then I provided you information about the outreach and engagement for the month, but I'd be happy to answer any question about anything.
Is there a substantial push behind that SB 87? The auxiliary structure thing,
Yeah, I'm sorry, I don't remember which.
That's
what-
the,
I don't- Oh, yeah.
ADUs.
accessory dwelling.
Yeah, this is like the third year that it's been showing up. And, our lobbyist for the league has said there's a lot of momentum. It's a concern to the beach towns, it's definitely a concern. You know, some of these things that are being placed, it just like our zoning rules that make Ocean View what it is today, will be bypassed. So, we're hoping that we're gonna still have some momentum with all the towns.
Yeah, you brought it up last year, or whatever, and
Yeah.
I thought, okay, and then I didn't hear it, and then. I
Yeah,
didn't know
it
if was
came
dying
back
on the
once
vine or
again.
what, yeah.
It didn't die on the vine, unfortunately. But there is a lot of opposition, a lot of good, comments and, consequences and things are being presented so that maybe it'll be defeated again.
Yeah, one comment, all these bills that are listed here, House Bill 135, 23, and the amendment to Title 10 of the code can really have a negative effect on our town. Negative, I mean, it's just, it could really get, man, it's just negative.
The homelessness bill, is very problematic, with the, lack of opportunity to address people just pulling up and parking in our park for Bethany Beach at the beach and, setting up. So, you know, there's a lot of towns and cities throughout the state that are concerned.
With respect to SB 23, affordable housing,
Yeah,
we do have two zoning districts, MXPC districts, which are ripe to have some housing that is more affordable than single-family dwelling units and townhomes. And we are actively working, we just met with a developer yesterday, actually, Friday. We met with the developer on Friday, trying to get some momentum to come up with some housing concepts for one of our MXPCs.
That SB 23, as written currently for the municipalities, it suggests that you will need to have 20% of your housing units need to be affordable housing. And then there's a method to figure out what that would be. And I started working on that yesterday. I didn't get to finish it, but we also have, which is in our budget, I don't have it with me, but we had 20% of our housing, the household income was $25,000 or less. Now that, as we know, right now is likely people who got their homes many, many years ago are probably up there in age. You know, I'm just surmising, of course, there's no study that I did with this. And of course, when those houses turn over, they're not, the values and everything's gonna be quite different. But when I was putting all the calculations in, and I wanna sit down with Dawn and Ken and think it through some more, I just don't know, like, when do we have to, if this goes through as it is, do we have to comply at the time of our next comp plan? Because the language says existing and or new. So what Ken just shared is if we can hit the right numbers, whatever the numbers are, when you do this formula, then that might be helpful and maybe we'd be able to navigate through it, but we'll see.
You know, in my mind, to make it worthwhile for the developers, you know, I think if the states are going to mandate these things, that they need to help something to make it worthwhile for the developers to offset the
Yeah.
loss in revenue.
The bill actually suggests that the towns should subsidize.
Oh, okay.
Carol, I have a separate question on the homeless bill, HB 135. The parking spots we have now adjacent to John West Park, like Oakwood, are they covered by our park regulations? The park is closed at a specific hour?
Not with this bill. If they're public parking,
No, I mean, under our existing town ordinances, say the parking lot right across the street, right out the window, to prevent someone from occupying that space de facto.
Yes, I believe,
Well, I don't know that we have a true restriction as far as park hours. It's closed. We do, however, have an ordinance that prohibits you from living or sleeping in a vehicle in the town of Ocean View. Most of the beach towns have a similar type ordinance.
And this would overlap.
Yep.
But and I don't want to waste too much time on this because this hasn't even happened yet. But would, including our parking areas as part of the park, under our town ordinance, and saying this is closed from midnight to 5 a.m. as an example?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of unknowns with this bill. Some folks have surmised that if it's a public parking area, whether it's on a public street, that permits street parking or in a public parking lot, then the state bill would supersede any of the local ordinances.
Yeah, and having lived this nightmare before in Washington D.C. and prior career, registered sex offenders, the problem. They're going to pull up, they're going to declare that parking space across from John West Park to be their domicile, and it opens up a whole nother dimension to the problem. I live it. Well, enough, thank you.
yeah, there's a lot of questions that aren't getting answered. You know, but you got to think about, well, okay, how would we manage it? And we don't have all the answers yet.
Any other questions from the South? Okay, thank you very much. Public Works, Mr. Martin.
All right. The weather's been crazy this spring. I don't know if you remember last spring, we had all that rain. We haven't had much rain at all this year. So doing a lot of watering. It's been windy out there too. So we haven't done any mosquito spraying yet, but we're looking to start that towards the end of May, next couple weeks. It's been too cold in the morning or too windy. And I haven't noticed a big deal with the mosquitoes or anything yet. So, here at the park, we went to turn on the irrigation and noticed that the pressure tank underneath this building here was on its side and malfunctioned, so we had to get that replaced. The plumbing doctor, a local plumbing company, came in and took care of us, and we now have water and irrigation is back to normal. Jacob, talking about irrigation, Jacob's been mapping out our irrigation system. We haven't had like a true map or plan, so that's been taking some time, but it's been helping. We've noticed there's heads that aren't even hooked up. They're hooked up to an old system out front here. There's like multiple systems that in the ground here. I couldn't imagine if we were to take all the soil out what it would look like because a lot has changed. So that's a big project the guys have been working on. Tim Barnes was out and checked the generator for us. I noticed our storm, it didn't kick on when we lost power, so he came out just to make sure that was up and running and ended up repairing that. There was the battery charger wasn't operating correctly, so we had to replace that. I think when you guys pulled in, and if you didn't notice it, you'll notice it now because I'm telling you, but on the way out, there's a magnolia here, a little gem magnolia that's brown, and we had Arbor Care come out and take a look at it. She said due to the rough winter and a couple other things that it's taken a beating, but she believes it's going to come back. So they did a microbial drench, and we put some extra fertilizer and some extra watering, and she feels like it's going to make it. So it's just going to look worse before it gets better. So hopefully it happens soon enough. But you'll see it now, and I'm not sure. Again, just not here at the park, but Jacob's been to 201 also, and mapped out that irrigation system. We ordered annuals. In fact, I picked them up yesterday, so they'll be going in. They'll be in by tomorrow. A couple of perennials that died have been replaced as well. Solidarity Gardeners put their plants in that Blue Star Memorial, and we got that mulched and finished up last week. Besides that, Jacob and I and Charles went down to Ocean City and had a little mosquito workshop and received some continuing education credits. So we're more familiar with our product that we're using around town. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
Just one comment. Councilman Blanchard and I went for a tour of the facility of Public Works this past week. and we were amazed how well it was organized and also how clean the facility was. So credit to you and your staff for that.
Thank you.
So it was very nice.
And anybody's invited to come on down. Love for you guys to check it out.
Any questions or comments? Okay. Up next is the EMS, the report from the Millville Volunteer Fire Company, which I will address. If you compare the years, one thing, everything is going up. In other words, from 25 and 26, like even the fire calls from 40s, they dropped 4, but the EMS calls rose 35. And I think a lot of that's due probably to the population, the aging of the population, and it's going to continue to rise. So their ambulances are extremely busy. So, and you can just look at it for yourself, and then you flip the page over, and it's got their activity report. Got a shed fire, a marsh fire at Sussex Road, and then a house fire. So, and the one thing with the ambos is when they're, say, dispatched to a house and they're not going to take them to the emergency room up here at South Coastal. They go all the way up, to Lewis. You figure they're out of service for quite a long time. By the time they drop the patient off, it's like 2 hours. So, I mean, it's, I don't know what shifts they work, but in a 12-hour shift, most they can handle these 6 calls. So it's another thing that hopefully, eventually, I know there's discussion about making South Coastal a full-service hospital, but when that is, I don't know. I mean, that was brought up, Dr. Tam brought that up in a meeting. So, but time-wise and finance-wise, I don't know how long it's going to take, so. Any questions on that, all concerns? Okay, we're going to open up the meeting now for citizens' privilege on items on the pre-published agenda, listed for discussion and consideration of items subsequently added at any time to the pre-published agenda for discussion and consideration. If anyone chooses to speak at this first citizen's privilege, he may not speak in the same topic in the second privilege. Is there anyone that's going to speak for the citizen's privilege this time? Okay. Since there's no one else here, we'll close that. We're going to item 8, new business.
Okay, Mr. Mayor, I move to introduce an ordinance authorizing the issuance of general obligation bonds, Series 2026, provide funds for and toward the completion of capital improvement projects and related expenses.
Okay.
Yeah, just if I may again, we do have Garrett Morris here from PFM. We typically, again, at introduction, don't do as much information as I want to do today. But I want to provide you with background. I want to provide the community with background. All of this information will be on our website, is on our website, has been on our website. I did prepare an updated slides as well that are available for anybody here today and also anybody that watches this by YouTube to get more acquainted with what we're doing. I think that might be the other, yeah, that might be the for the tax rate stabilization, but for the infrastructure funding, all of this information, unless you want me to, I'll read all of the information, but I think we've had workshops and we've answered questions and we've provided all this information before. We do have a new member of council, and so I wanted to make sure that you had all of the information in the ordinance that's in place. If you have any questions, my biggest thing that I can ask of you is my request at the end of the memo that I provided is that familiarize yourself, and if you feel that you need any additional information in time for the first reading, and certainly by the second reading, and which would be when you would vote, we'd love to get that information from you now so that we can be prepared to present any information that helps you understand, be more comfortable with the process that we're suggesting we move into, which is borrowing money to repair infrastructure. So if I can ask that, and again, I'd be happy to answer any questions now. We have Garrett here. He didn't come just for this, just so you know. He was in the vicinity and said he wanted to come and join us. So if you have any questions, be happy to try to fill in any blanks. The ordinance is specific to amounts and everything, and it's all, nothing has changed from what you approved for us to move forward. Of course, the key date would be the July meeting. If you approve the opportunity to go out for borrowing for the municipal bonds sale, that's when we're really going to get heavy into this process, and so the July date, meeting date will be very important.
We're still AA plus, right, for bond rating?
We're AA plus, and as part of the process of borrowing, we will be rated again. We anticipate that we are in a financial position that we would remain that way. We've talked about it a little bit before, the fact that we have our unassigned fund balance at the level that we have is a plus. Garrett and Jamie during our workshop explained to us that that was something that was helpful when we last got our bond rating. And that's also something we're always weighing, because the auditors say, oh, you don't have to keep that much. But we did anticipate that we may be going down this road, so we wanted to make sure that we had a nice solid reserve going into that. Any questions? Okay.
Thank you very much. Next on the agenda is discussion and consideration and possible voting on renewal of the police memorandum of understanding with South Bethany and Ocean View. Chief, any comment on that?
Yes, Mayor. So just a little history. Back in late 2019, the town of South Bethany came to me requesting some assistance. They were going through a transition with their police department down there. They were very short-staffed and were not able to cover most of the patrol shifts. And they reached out for some assistance. We wound up in March of 2020 signing a mutual assistance agreement between the town of Ocean View and South Bethany, which permitted us to go down there and assist them, provide routine police services. We were actually covering their patrol shift for them. It was an overtime job for our officers. The town of South Bethany covered the costs associated with that. And we saw them through the transition of their new chief, Jason Lovins, that was brought on, and the hiring of a sufficient number of officers before they were able to take care of those routine duties themselves. The agreement worked very well. The town of South Bethany, I think, was very happy. We were happy with it. We extended it for another year, and then after that, at the end of, I think, 2021, we extended it for 5 years. We're at the end of that 5-year period now. The town of South Bethany has contacted me through Chief Lovins. They desire to continue this agreement. I think it's a very good thing for us as well as them. And I'm part before you here this evening for consideration and voting on it.
So it's been all positive then?
Nothing but positive, I think for both communities.
Council, have any questions of the chief on this?
None.
Okay. Can I have a motion to approve the renewal of this?
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion that we continue our memorandum of understanding with South Bethany Police Department.
A second?
Second. Second.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's all right. I didn't want to scream.
All in
I thought it was
favor?
a test.
I know,
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, motion passed.
And
Next,
Mr. Mayor,
discuss.
The town of South Bethany is, I think, scheduled to address this at their council meeting next week. Assuming they approve it as well, then we'll get a copy to the town manager and
Okay.
we can sign. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Chief. Okay, next on the agenda, discussion, consideration, and possible voting on resolution from WSFS Bank. Ms. Parks.
Yes, we have resolution to update our signature cards with WSFS as a result of the recent election.
Okay, any questions on that? This basically only applies to the mayor and the mayor pro tem, so. All right, can I have a motion to approve the resolution for WSFS Bank?
Okay, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve the resolution for WSFS Bank.
Okay, second,
I second the motion.
all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, onward. Discussions, consideration, and possible voting on resolution from Fulton Bank, Ms. Parks.
It's the same, it's a resolution to update our signature cards as a result of the election and the appointment of the mayor pro tem.
Thank you. Can I have a motion for this?
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve the resolution with Fulton Bank.
Second,
I second the motion.
all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, passes. Okay, discussion, consideration, and possible voting on a recommendation to replace bathroom doors at John Wick Park in South.
Yes. So our exterior restroom doors here at the park have deteriorated over the years. Matt obtained 2 bids from Master Jack of Bishopville and Pro Exteriors from Milton. Research indicated that the Provia doors from Pro Exteriors are of higher quality than the Therma-Tru doors that Master Jack quoted. Both are fiberglass. However, also Pro Exteriors quote includes the installation of new door handles and deadbolts, where Master Jack's quote does not. Pro Exteriors quote was deemed to be more responsive. Funds are available from the Capital Reserve Trust Fund, totaling $8,860 for the replacement of doors at 32 West. These doors were included in the town's reserve study, and another good reason why we have these replacement fundings available. It's therefore recommended the mayor and council authorize the town manager to move forward with the purchase and installation of 2 replacement exterior restroom doors for John West Park at the total cost of $8,013.85 from Pro Exteriors, Milton, Delaware.
Council, any questions or discussions on this?
The doors, ADA and all that, yeah. Just want to verify.
They're on level ground with the outside of the park.
Okay, council, can I have a recommendation to approve?
I'd like to make a motion, we recommend the replacement of the bathroom doors at John West Park.
Second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And thanks for doing all the hard work, Matt.
Now, discussion, consideration, and possible voting regarding a dog park.
Yes, thank you. So, I included the original email that I received, and I will also share that I did share all of the information that's in the packet, and that you have my memorandum and the research we did with the gentleman who reached out about us creating a dog park here at John West Park. The suggestion that was made was that we fence in the walking trail, which of course, we really can't do that because it can only be used as a dog park. Then we'd have to remove our exercise equipment and all that stuff. But there's a lot of other things to consider. I've provided information from Newcastle County Parks and Rec, information from Millsboro, information from Lewis. Matt, interestingly, recently was at Ogilvy Institute and participated in a leadership program, and his team actually discussed dog parks. So I shared the information that he got from that opportunity. And then I also shared some of my own experience with participating in dog parks of different types with my own dog, and this was when he was much younger. So with all that information shared, at this point in time, I do not think we have a location, certainly not John West Park because of proximity to homes, and that wherever we pick, it really has to only be used for that. If you're doing a fenced dog park. There's lots of considerations to be taken. If we were to move in this direction, I think we would need to identify a location that was specific to all the needs that we would have for such a undertaking. I also, after submission, received from Newcastle County the cost to develop 2 of their newest parks. So Rockwood Park, that's up in Wilmington, the cost, and it is a 6,000 square foot dog park. And to give you an idea, 600 square feet is a little bit less than the parking lot right out here, the paved lot. Thank you, Ken, for helping me figure that out. I wanted to give you something to, kind of get your head around. That cost was $50,000, okay? Now, that does not include any water, and typically they do have a water source for the dogs to be able to drink from, so that doesn't include that. And it does, in fairness, include some of the higher end fencing because Rockwood Park is a historic park, and that was something that was important at the time to them. So, to give you an idea, that was the cost for 6,000 square feet. And River Road Park, which I have not been to, it's one of their newer ones, cost $125,000 for 33,000 square feet. This is a very large park. I think it's probably very similar to, it sounds very similar to the, to the park that I went to in Middletown, where it's a very big open expanse, and you really can't even keep track of your dogs. But that also included mulching. They decided to mulch the ground. So there's lots of considerations, and the considerations also impact maintenance requirements. It's my recommendation that we keep it in, similar to our pickleball situation, where we just don't have a place that's suitable that with the noise complaints for pickleball. I don't think we currently own a place, and I certainly haven't identified a place where construction of a dog park would be suitable based on everything that we know. We do know that our next comp plan would take place in 2030. That'll be the next 10-year update. I know that's a long way off, and not really somebody that likes to kick the can, but I don't recall this coming up with our 2020 plan, and it certainly was not one of the recommendations because we've been checking those boxes off. So I think we just tread lightly. If something comes up and we know of this, we could do some polling in the community if it's before 2030, and we can decide. I missed the requester, and I want to say he wasn't the only one. We've had little requests every now and then, and we've discussed it slightly, but I really just wanted to get direction about whether or not you agreed that this is something we need to put on the back burner, or if it's something we need to work on. So that's what I'm looking for, direction.
I thank you for all the research you did on this. Right now, my opinion is it doesn't seem feasible for us to venture into this. I'd like to hear anything from the council on this.
Other than I agree.
Mr. Mayor, I have a comment. The liability for the dog park should definitely be a serious consideration. There's a lot of concerns with other dogs, and potential injuries, and things that could happen. Although it appears to be a great idea, when you look further into the situation, that would be a big concern, the general liability.
Thank you very, very much. Any other questions or concerns directed to the dog park? Okay. With that
I
being-
appreciate it. I think just to recap, keep it on the back burner, and if something seems to come up, I'll bring it back to your attention.
Okay, with that being said, I'm going to open citizens' privilege and close it at the same time because there's no one here. Okay, we don't have an executive session today, so can I have a motion for adjournment?
Mayor, I move to adjourn.
Second?
Second.
We're adjourned.